Hi there, welcome to another episode on the Work Boss podcast where we share best practices in the workplace and how you can do things differently. Hi, I'm Natasha from the Growth Marketing team here at our HR, and today I'm joined here with Grace from Ufriend Media to discuss the importance of enhancing and staying competitive with digital content. So let me bring her on real quick.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace.
Yeah, so everyone, this is Grace. She's from Ufriend Media. And the reason why I brought her today is because, these days coming up with digital content is something that every business will do. However, coming up with the right type of content is something that may be challenging for some to achieve. So, Grace, in your opinion, how do you think a company is able to build trust through improving a brand's image with digital content?
Well, to build trust is about how you build your brand reputation, and it's not something that you need to build in within a day or two, but it's like a long-term thingy. Like brand reputation is simply how this a brand going to be viewed by everyone else. Like for example, currently what you see as McDonald's, everyone knows about it, right? But it has to be constantly telling people that if you need fast food, come to us. We are cheap and good, and we are economical. So if you see that McDonald's has been established for so many years, but you can still see all the ads around. And then, like for example, how to eventually build in a very good brand reputation that shows that your customers about your brands, and how to build the confidence towards into your products itself. So, for example, if you go to the food court right now, for example, if you can dine in like soon anyway, you wouldn't want to spend like a $38 sushi plate in a food court. But however, if you walk through a Rakuten or like Sushi Sanmai, whichever, something with a good brand that for you to even to spend even a $48, you would think like, it's comfortable enough. So, in terms of building a brand confidence, that's going to be something for you to it's a trust to your brand, one thing, and then in future it's going to be very imperative in terms of your conversion as well. Yeah.
Definitely. I think when it comes to coming up with the brand content to making sure that a customer can trust you, you also need to know how to communicate the essence of your brand to the customer as well.
Exactly. Like for example, like what you think of when you think about iPhone right now, it's Apple product. So everyone thinks that it's a very it's like an updated thingy. And then the moment when we do a lot of like Google Analytics, when people see that a lot of my customers coming up from the iOS instead of the the Androids or tablets. So that means your brand has a certain levels, you see. So that's how you stay you put yourself into a level in terms of your customers top of mind, you see. It's very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, based on many Malaysian businesses that you've worked with, what are some of the steps that they've taken with their content which make them maybe not so successful with their brand image, and how would you usually advise them to do otherwise?
Yeah, we can think of, let's say, we should pinpoint some weaknesses that usually we have been seeing that quite oftenly among all our customers right now. So let's just say that without any proper planning, so, sometimes people can just some of the merchants can just call us and say that, oh Grace, you know what, I want to do Instagram. I say, okay, that's great, that's a very good news, but what are the things you want to do? Can you please advise us? And as a service provider, what we need to do is that we need to know first thing first about your marketing plan, instead of us, instead of throwing these questions to us that, I don't know what to do. You are the expert, Grace. You should tell me what we need to do. But instead, when merchants show us this kind of questions, we have a lot of difficulties to really educate them. I mean, not to say educate, but just to tell them that, okay, if you want to do this, you have to understand that, for example, what are your weakness, your selling points, your target audience, and all these things. And the most weakness among a lot of these merchants will be like, when I ask them, who is your target audience? And most of the time say, I want everyone. That's very funny questions that you need to really focus on your main core objectives, your main core target audience. And we understand that everyone needs to expand as much as they can, but however, you need to pinpoint what are your focus first. That's one of the very important questions to let the merchants to really know, instead of just, because my competitor is doing that, I need to do that as well. Currently, because like for example, like video shooting or maybe live streaming, it's very, very it's a trend right now. Because I see my competitor is doing, I also want to do. And then in terms of how these merchants wanted to build their social media, it's a plan. It's not just about, oh, I have a lot of contents, I have a lot of pictures, I just dump all the pictures up there. There's a tactic to do it. What about your copywriting? What about your mode and manner? Whether you wanted to portray yourself like a Chanel brand, or it's just like a normal shoe brand, for example, it's different. And then, for example, like if for example, like I mentioned just now, you really need to pinpoint what is your selling points and your target audience. For instance, if you know that your target audience are like more towards on the retirees, for instance, and then if you put all this, if you dump all your budgets to do all the Snapchats, TikToks, and Instagram, that might not work, because the retirees might not be actively using TikTok. So you really have to know your target audience, instead of just spreading all the eggs to all the different baskets without knowing what is your focus. That's really, really bad, because at the end of the day, when we can't achieve the certain advertising, when we do postmortems, when we can't achieve the certain strategy plans, accordingly to the merchants, and people would think like, you guys are not professional enough. I dump in so much money, but I fail in my previous marketing plans and whatnot. But a lot of times I would need to ask the merchants, but you reflect yourself. What have you done? What do you need to know about your different your different platforms? Because different platforms, it has a different target audience as well, and they have a different reading behavior, spending behaviors is always different. And then sometimes when we do alongside with a lot of digital content as well, we also realize that some merchants, I wouldn't say they are not cooperative, but sometimes in terms of bad reviews, bad websites, looking, all this UI and UX, that's actually very important as well. We can't just blame it onto the digital content, because we didn't bring any good traffics. But a lot of traffics, when we bring it up to the website, or maybe even to the Facebook page, but the Facebook page doesn't really reflect exactly what the product is, and a lot of times we face that kind of problem as well. So, and then we also will advise our merchants that in order to attract for example, if you're looking into a youngsters demographic, in order to attract the younger demographics, you have to be Instagrammable. It's a word, it's a trend, because a lot of times when you check on your Instagram story, people take nice pictures, people take nice videos, unboxing videos, regardless whether the product is good or whether the food looks whether the food is tasty. For them, it's just because it looks good on the picture, I want to take it, I want to share it, play some hashtags, and that's about it. It's about all this, how you engage with your customers as well. So and then to also pinpoint, saying that a lot of merchants complain that, hey, my I don't have sales, so I am dubbed, and then my merchant, my competitors are throwing some price wars, or maybe I have done a lot of marketing plans, I've engaged a lot of influencers, but I don't see any sales. It's about, there are two different things that we always needed to let the merchants to understand, that when you build your traffic versus when you build your engagement or your conversion are two different things. So a lot of times that we do not want to jump into a conclusion. A lot of merchants say that, okay, when I advertise onto Instagram, when I put in my bid ads to Facebook, how much sales would I get? That's a really bad norm right now, but a lot of merchants will be asking us these questions. I would actually inform to the merchants, saying that, look, you have to look at what are the successful stories that not we have been done, but your competitors have been doing. So you see how, for example, like KFC has been building the brand for like how many years, versus, if you are just a normal fast food by the hawker stores, you might not need that kind of marketing. So it's definitely different thing. If you wanted to build your sales without your brand, nobody knows about your brand. And for example, if you go to Shopee, let's say you go to Shopee and you are comparing a few electrical items. One electrical items brand X XYZ. And then let's say when it comes to X, okay, made in Germany, the brand is in Japan, blah, blah, blah. So how do you want to compare it? It's always about, you're building back to the questions I mentioned, like, in questions number 1, it's about the trust. So without the trust, there wouldn't be any sales at all. So I always inform the clients, you are putting your products to build some brands first. When people PM you, that's one of the good points. But when people PM you, it doesn't mean that that's one of the, that probably can consider as one of the conversion. But however, if you wanted to convert that PM to sales, that's going to be on step 2. So do not jump to the conclusion that I must hit how much of sales and all these things. Your P&L analysis and your brand analysis has to be 2 different things. Yeah.
Definitely. And also, like, especially if you're a very new brand in the market, you need time in order to establish your brand.
Exactly. Like, for example, a lot of all these new like skincare products and everything, they always engage some KOLs and all these things, which is good. Like, a lot of influencers, they share reviews about the brands and all these things, which is good. But however, once the KOL has done with the review, so what? So you have to continue about, how you sustain this marketing plans. You can't just, okay, I have done a series of influencers marketing, and I feel bad about it, Grace, because I didn't see any sales. Because once this KOL is doing another brand, they had, all these clients, we tend to, customers and myself, I tend to forget like which are the brands that I wanted it to be. And then I am prone with a lot of ads, like netizens nowadays are very smart enough. Before we purchase something, we will compare the price, we are going to check the reviews, we are going to do a lot of research before we're buying one thing. We're getting very smart right now, right? So you have to constantly tell people that, hey, my brand is here, we are still here, hello. You have to greet people. You have to tell your clients, your customers that you are still here, in a sense where you have to constantly plan your marketing. You can't just plan your 3 months and then you stop there feeling bad about your brands and feel about, I want to give up and all these things. It's a long-term journey.
Yeah, definitely. And you talked a lot about collaborations with like influencers and all. So since collaborations is very important these days, like what are some of the tips that you have for businesses to make sure that these collaborations are worth going into so that their efforts are not wasted?
I wouldn't say effort would be waste, because a lot of times right now, especially during the pandemics, where a lot of bosses has the time to really sit down and think. Like, back in the days where you're so busy, you see a lot of sales, you wouldn't want to do any crossovers, you wouldn't do any engagement with other things, because you are counting money, you're busy counting money right now. So right now is the time that you really have to sit back and look at the environments around you, the platforms around you. Even TikTok has been changing in terms of how we do the hashtag challenge and all these things, right? You have to keep up to the trend. And then, for example, which are the platforms that you wanted to do some collaborations, recurring the crossover marketings, or maybe you want to cross with other brands and so on and so forth. It takes some time to plan. So long that you have to gauge your win-win marketing situations, whereby, let's just say that I have a shoe brand, and then Natasha has like a skincare brand. Let's just do some, like, say, how we can build our network together. For example, you might have a network with a lot of females, and I might have a lot of for guys, you see, because I'm selling shoes, right? So how we do the cross? Okay, you purchase for the girlfriend, I purchase for the boyfriend, vice versa. So in terms of all these, in terms of what we call as a win-win, right? It has to go align with your brand directions. For instance, let's say if your target audience is in terms of the elderly, and I am needed a younger 18 to 34 age, then we are not aligned. So in that case, it might not be a good collaboration. It might be, some things just it will spark up something, but it might not be aligned. So in a way that a lot of times we will need to plan in a sense that it has to go aligned, it has to be win-win. And then look at Bear Brick, for example. Bear Brick, it's a trend right now that a lot of my friends, even my husband is doing that, collecting all these craftaholics, whatever. So yeah, and all these toys are not cheap, I tell you. So what they do is that you see all this crossover with, let's say on the left side is other brand, on the right side another brand, and they mix it to be valuable. So that's one of the crossovers. So if you were to ask me whether how to justify whether the effort is going to waste it or not, I wouldn't say wasted, because each and every of the collaboration, there is always a certain value, regardless whether you build any sales, like I mentioned this previously, but you build a certain a brand awareness. That's most important, especially when your brand is new, you see. So there's no such thing as an effort waste. It's actually no harm trying, you see, because that's the time that you really have to, you have to, I mean, in a way that if you have the chance to do some crossovers, why not? For example, if you have the chance to cross over with a very prominent influencers and she is willing to help you to do some unboxings, why not? Give it a try, because for example, some influencers, they might have a certain traffic that is very beneficial to you. It might not be, turns out to be, tomorrow I need to have 100 people of coming to my e-commerce platform and, you know, add to carts and all these things. It might not be, but however, it probably built a certain confidence saying that, so and so with this brand, they are collaborating. Okay, why not we go and Google about this brand? Why not we go and visit about the e-commerce and check about the price? This looks good. You know, in a way, you let people to, you create that kind of topic for people to talk about you. That's very important. When people keep on constantly talking about you success, I mean, in a way that you already success one step further. For example, currently at 3 o'clock right now, if I were to be hungry right now, say, let's get some fast food, and I will talk to you about what about getting a MACD right now because it's having like some certain discounts right now for 9.9. Why not? So when people talk about it, you win. In a way that this is one of the, this is part of brand and brand collaborations. Yeah.
Definitely. And I feel like these days there's so many types of different collaborations that you can do.
Exactly.
It's not just influencers, you can make content together and stuff like that. There's so many
Correct. So let's just say influencer marketing is just a very, very small part in terms of our planning and campaign strategy. For example, like crossovers or brand to brand, like Adidas and who else? Like, for example, like I mentioned, like Bearbrick, right? One on the left side is Nike and another side is Sorayama or something like that. So that's the kind of collaboration. As long as your target audience, the market direction is aligned, give it a try.
Yeah, definitely. And like, in your opinion, there's so many of these type of content trends lately that you see businesses are starting to adopt. Like, what do you think that's the case? So, for example, one of the content trends is a lot of people are moving away from static image marketing to video marketing. So, why do you think there's a shift lately?
It definitely has a shift right now because we understand that at the current situation, especially in Malaysia, it's very hard for us to do a lot of outdoor shootings and all these things. But there are still certain fans who doesn't like to watch video, if I realize, So a lot of times when we do a lot of try and error, we usually do try and error whereby we will start with like a static content first. And definitely static contents, because people can just scroll up and down, probably they will miss out the informations. But, for the next 2 or 3 contents, we will probably throw up some videos. So we will compare like an A and B try and error, you see. So let's say that, okay, this kind of contents is more preferred, more favorable. Then in terms of, when we wanted to do a little bit more in-depth about, to discuss more about the contents, that is where we would encourage our merchants to do some short videos and so on and so forth. That probably be very, it's trend setting right now. It probably be, for example, if you go to TikTok, or maybe a lot of Chinese, for example, like what, Kuaishou, Xiaohongshu, all these things, there are all these trend settings, right? You will see a lot of people, they prefer to watch videos because they will see how the wonders of the contents and then how you edit it, how the dynamic is and all these things. It looks attractive. But for instance, if like a lot of merchants saying that, okay, I don't have a certain budget, you see, I want to just start to try something basic, that would be just a normal static content would be just fine. Until to the point where the merchant says that, you know what, I have a lot of videos, okay, I want to try. I don't mind trying with shooting with, let's say, just with my iPhone or with Huawei, Leica, whichever. Okay, fine. You can try to shoot it on yourself, and then we will advise, okay, what are the contents which is suitable, you see. Because in terms of TikTok, all this viral video, it has to be viral, right? So let's just say that if you are shooting at a corporate video, slow pace and all these things, that might not work. In terms of this kind of trend, you have to see, you have to know, for example, back to the questions again, that you have to know what your target audience like to see. If your target audience are not more towards on the 18 to 34, they need to see more hip hop style. They need to see more, like a little bit more trendy style. In that case, your content dynamic has to go align. And for instance, if you are more towards on, okay, retirement plan, and then if at the end of the day you put a really like a Jackson Wang remix song as a background music, that might not work. So that also back to the point that what is your target audience and why your target audience want to see all these videos into these platforms. It's a trend right now, but a lot of people misuse it because a lot of merchants come to me and say, Grace, I want to do TikTok. I said, that's good. Congratulations. I like it. But what do you want to do on TikToks? Oh, I have a lot of products. I want to shoot all the products. But you can't just put a product there and then you shoot 360s. And when people see more than 3 seconds, you're like, okay, so what? You have to create that kind of viral. People will need to share. People talk about it, like I mentioned. Regardless whether your static contents or maybe it's your video contents, you just need people to engage more, to interact more with your content. So it's regardless, but it's definitely good to be into to venture into videos because it's going to be the next trend right now, which is good.
Yeah, for sure. And also I feel like, with a lot of SMEs, mostly in Malaysia right now, there's a lot of SMEs who may not have a lot of budget to work with. I think coming up with a lot of creative ways that don't need a lot of money is out there right now. There's so many resources. It's just a trial and error, I would say.
A trial and error, but there wouldn't be any what we call as a best marketing. It's probably going to be one of the most suitable plan. You see, you start from something that you're familiar with. Okay, for example, okay, I have a limited budgets. I'm not like McDonald's where have like a million to spend every year. I understand. So you have to determine your business goal. You have to be clear that as a merchant, right, you have to be clear that, okay, for this particular 3 months, what I wanted to do, the next 3 months, the next 3 months, and the next. So we a lot of times we need to review back each quarterly. So that's one thing. And then in terms of contents, it's a very long-term investment. Like I mentioned, you can't just stop in 3 months and then you say, okay, I have spent enough money and I'm not happy with it. I burned a little hole in my wallet. I stopped doing it. I'm very furious right now. You can't do that because it's a constant thing. You might be a poor storyteller, but in terms of that, you have to look good in your product and your services. Like I mentioned, your product, your packaging has to look nice. Your services has to, for example, like I mentioned just now, if you have a bad reviews, do something with it. If you have a bad image in terms of your UI, your UX, you have a bad website, do something. These are your first impression. First and foremost, you have to get all this done first. And for example, if you need to post a little bit more towards, let's say, your contents. So how should you start? You need to have a good copywriting, regardless whether it's B2C or B2B. You see, you have to know that which are the platforms that's suitable for you and your target audience. So after that, you will know that, okay, what kind of content I need to do. Okay, you start with, let's say, a 3 months plan. Okay, this plan doesn't work. You start another plan with, let's say, another KOL. Or maybe a few different KOLs. Okay, these few different KOLs. Okay, I see a little bit of results. Okay, we try another different platforms. You constantly have to keep on trying. You just need to be on par with the current trend right now. You don't really need to spend like $1,000 per day for an ad. We kind of understand that. You start slowly, and then the moment you see a little bit of results, you try to put more effort. You just have to go with the trend right now. Whatever the trend is doing, you just have to go on par with it, align with it. When people see about your products, that's about it.
Yeah, for sure though. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today's episode. If you guys are interested to catch more of this and all the things that we do about being a boss, definitely keep a lookout for the next episode. And once again, thank you so much, Grace, for coming on the Word Boss podcast with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out Grace or Ufriend Media, I will link it down below in the description bar. All right, see you all on the next one. Bye.
Ta-da!